Chapter 1881, It's good that you know. If it really came to that point, Zihua would never forgive Wei De no matter what he said, even if she was killed and he refused to acknowledge Wei Wei as his son. Zihua's attitude would decide the Wei family's fate. As such, they could not afford to offend Zihua. Wei De had thought about Wei Xiaomei's worries too. He had not been as bold as he was now when he had just gotten married to Zihua. Even though Zihua had been willing to bring Wei Xiaomei over from the countryside to live with them in Pingcheng out of sympathy, Wei De had immediately rejected her suggestion, saying that Wei Xiaomei was used to the life in the countryside and would not be able to adapt to living in a city like Pingcheng. He told Zihua that there was no point in doing such a thing out of kindness since it would end up hurting Wei Xiaomei. But when Wei De saw Zihua treating Wei Wei like her own biological son, he gradually became bolder and eventually brought Wei Xiaomei over to Pingcheng. After all, no matter how good Zihua treated Wei Wei, she did not really see him as her son. How could an auntie compare to a biological mother? In terms of taking care of Wei Wei, Wei De had more faith in Wei Xiaomei than Zihua. After today's incident, Wei De's courage immediately dissipated, and he was just as meek as he had been when he had just gotten married. All he wanted was to send Wei Xiaomei as far as possible, as soon as possible. Don't worry. Once you return to the village, I'll send you 3,000 yuan every month. If you need anything or need any money, you can contact me. I'll just wire more money over. Instructing Wei Xiaomei to return to the countryside was not entirely disregarding Wei Xiaomei's opinion. As a village girl, Wei Xiaomei was much more understanding and was much more outstanding than Zihua in this aspect. Wei De was soft-hearted towards such a good woman like this, and he wanted her to lead a good life. Initially, Wei Xiaomei had not planned on accepting the living allowance of 3,000 yuan. After all, she did not have many expenses while living in the countryside. Eventually, she decided to accept it. Firstly, Wei De was her man. It was only right for him to provide her with a monthly living allowance. If she did not need it, she could always save it up. In another 10 years' time, she would be able to present her son with a gift of 30,000 yuan. Secondly, why would she refuse Wei De's money? Wei De's money was also Zihua's money. Wei De's salary as a soldier was rather meager, and the Wei family had expenses to pay. All these expenses added up to quite a significant sum over the span of a month. It was definitely higher than Wei De's wage as a soldier. In other words, it had only been because Zihua had been chipping in that the Wei family had been able to lead such carefree lives. In that way, the 3,000 yuan that Wei Xiaomei got was not from Wei De but Zihua. Wei Xiaomei was willing to give in without a bottom line for her son's sake, but that did not mean that she had no opinions of Zihua. Even while giving in, Wei Xiaomei had always thought of using such alternative ways of getting back at Zihua. All right. Your injuries aren't so serious. Take this card and leave today. Since they had already formulated a plan, Wei De did not want to waste even a single minute. The earlier he chased Wei Xiaomei away, the better he would be able to prove his disdain toward Wei Xiaomei. In that way, he should be able to appease Zihua so that she would let this matter slide, right? Looking at the bank card on the table, Wei Xiaomei's pupils constricted for a moment, but she obediently accepted the card. Brother, I'll take my leave then. I won't visit Xiao Wei, in case Sister Zihua makes life difficult for Xiao Wei in the future. Brother, you have to guide Xiao Wei well and improve his relationship with Sister Zihua. Not being able to meet her son one last time before leaving was the cruelest thing to Wei Xiaomei. Wei Xiaomei was unsure of how her son would react upon hearing about this incident. She could only hope that her son would be rational and act wisely in front of Zihua and her daughter. No pain, no gain. As long as they could tide through this arduous period, all their efforts would be worth it once her son became established. Wei De's tone was gentle. Don't worry. I know what to do. Xiao Wei is a smart kid. I believe he'll understand our pains and know what to do. Once you leave, don't worry about what goes on in Pingcheng. I'll deal with it myself. As long as Wei Xiaomei left and without this source of anger for Zihua, everything would be much easier to handle. Wei Xiaomei had proposed this idea herself, but Weida's eagerness to see her leave upset Wei Xiaomei. This time, Wei Xiaomei was much more decisive in taking the bank card. Wei Xiaomei knew that all the money in this card was Weida's money that he had saved up secretly behind Zihua's back. After she took this sum of money, given Weida's character of having no sense of security without money, she was sure that Weida would find an excuse to recover this sum of money from Zihua. Zihua was the reason she could not acknowledge her husband and could not even visit her son. Her family had been ruined by Zihua. All she had done was made Zihua fork out a little money. She had gotten the short end of the stick. The moment Wei Xiaomei got on the bus to leave Pingcheng, she sent a text message to Weida. Upon receiving the text message, Weida, who had been tense the whole time, finally let out a smile. I hope that everything will be resolved well now that Xiaomei has left. Since Xiaomei had left, he could answer to Zihua. Zihua would not be so unreasonable to not forgive him, right? Weida felt that everything would be solved easily now that Wei Xiaomei had left. The problem was that while he was dealing with Wei Xiaomei's problem, Zihua had already decided to meet with the Zai family. Moreover, with the Zai family's help, she had already gotten a DNA test done on Wei Wei and Weida. Have you really thought it through this time? Knowing that Zihua had been bullied so badly by Weida, Zai Sheng was infuriated. Even the rational Zai Sheng had the impulse to kill someone. Zihua laughed cynically. Yes, I have. I think if I haven't made up my mind by now, the person you guys would be angry at would not be Weida but me. Even if you don't kill me, you would want to open my skull up to check if I have a brain at all. Zai Sheng harumphed, implying that Zihua seemed to understand her own situation well. Since you've already thought it through, I'll help you handle everything. The bail procedures are almost done. Bring Jiajia home. Oh right. I guess you'll want custody of Jiajia. Of course. Her marriage to Weida had been like a nightmare. The only saving grace was her daughter, Jiajia. Chapter 1882, Change of Positions. Jiajia said that she'll follow me. Weida already has his son, Wei Wei. He doesn't care about his daughter, but I do. I'll never let him have Jiajia. Otherwise, the Wei family would probably bully Jiajia so that they would be able to gain from the Zai family. When Zihua emerged, Jiajia sat quietly by Qiaonan's side. She had been waiting for a long time. Jiajia's eyes sparkled the moment she saw Zihua, and she immediately skipped over to Zihua's side to hold on to Zihua's hand. Mom, let's go home. Zihua felt her eyes redden. Her daughter had never been to the Zai family's house but still viewed the Zai family's house as her home. The Wei family was truly such a failure to have created such animosity that Jiajia was willing to call an unfamiliar place her home. All right, let's go home. Back to our real home. A home that feels like a home. Seeing Zihua and her daughter in this state, Miao Jing finally let out a smile. That's right. Let's all go home. Let's have a good meal and wash up. Tomorrow will be better. As the Zai family reunited and headed back home, Qiaonan subconsciously followed along. But then, she sensitively took a few steps back. The Zai family would head home, but it was already late at night. There would probably not be any buses to bring her back to Qingshui town. She would just have to find a motel for the night and return tomorrow. The Zai family now knew all about Zihua's situation. Qiaonan believed that Zihua would definitely not be at a disadvantage with the Zai family on her side. The Zai family would naturally help Zihua resolve her problems. As an outsider, there was no need for her to step in and interfere. She could take a step back now. Zai Sheng, who was standing by Qiaonan's side, asked in a low voice, "Why aren't you moving?" Qiaonan lifted her eyes to meet Zai Sheng's. "What do you mean? It's time for me to go home too." Qiaonan lifted her foot, heading in the direction of the bus stop but was immediately stopped by Zai Sheng. Frustrated, he asked, "Where are you going?" "The car is here." Xiao Nan was slightly angry, yet aggrieved. "So what if the car is here? This isn't my car. Besides, you have too many passengers." She was a Qiao and had nothing much to do with the Zai family. What right did she have to get in the car, especially when the Zai family was having a warm reunion? What was her identity? At the mention of having too many passengers, Zai Sheng was stunned. He had indeed neglected this problem. But seeing Xiao Nan pouting like a child, Zai Sheng's heart softened. "Don't worry. We won't have too many passengers. No matter what, you came all the way to Pingcheng because of our family. Although the matter has already been resolved, we have to take responsibility for you now." Zai Sheng then walked toward the car and said to the person in the passenger seat, "Drive this car home. I'll get another car with Xiao Nan." Zai Hua, who had just been released from the police station and whose emotions had been complicated, could not help but laugh. "Do you mean that you're abandoning your parents and sister now that you have a wife?" Xiao Nan was truly important to him for him to leave his entire family and accompany her alone. She had been married for over 10 years and had given her all for her family. Not only had she never been pampered like a princess, but she had even treated her partner like a king. But in return, she had gotten years of lies and betrayal. Zai Hua was almost dying of grief because of Wei Dai, but right at this moment, it seemed like Zai Sheng's spring was coming. "Aren't you afraid that you'll provoke me and that I'll create trouble for Xiao Nan?" Zai Hua had moments when she was unreasonable as well. Was he not afraid that she would do something upon seeing how well the couple got along with each other? Zai Sheng was not at all threatened by Zai Hua. "Xiao Nan has just done you such a big favor. I don't think you'll be so evil as to do something like that. Without Xiao Nan, we wouldn't even know where Jiajia is. You'd better set a good example for Jiajia in front of her." Jiajia, who had been unwittingly arrowed, blinked in confusion, feeling that the world of adults was too confusing. Auntie Qiao had obviously not done anything. Why was her mom targeting Auntie Qiao? While she had been in the police station, no one but Auntie Qiao had been around. She thought that her mom got along well with Auntie Qiao. To be honest, Jiajia had only memories of her mom's uncompromising side. As such, Jiajia had been surprised to see Zai Hua's willingness to take Xiao Nan's advice. If not for the fact that she was certain that her mom had never crossed paths with Auntie Qiao before the new year, she would have suspected that Auntie Qiao was her mom's long-lost best friend. "Mom, I'm hungry." Jiajia did not know how to respond at such a moment, but her uncle was not wrong. After arriving in Qingshui town, she had not been able to find her grandma's family. Thankfully, she had Auntie Qiao. Otherwise, she might have gone into hiding out of shock and fear. Zai Hua had no other choice since her daughter was now complaining about her hunger. She had already lost her marriage and her husband, Wei Dai. Now, the most important thing to Zai Hua was undoubtedly her daughter, Jiajia. Jiajia was her first priority now. Since her daughter was hungry, the first thing Zai Hua had to do was to go home and prepare a feast for her daughter. It was not only Jiajia who was hungry. Zai Hua was hungry too. When the incident had happened, it had been noontime. The mother and daughter pair had taken both meals at once, so it was only natural for them to be hungry. Miaojing hesitated for a moment. "We came back too suddenly, so I guess there won't be any vegetables at home, right?" Even though her daughter and granddaughter were both hungry, there was no way she would suddenly be able to whip up a meal on such short notice. Zai Yai was taken aback too. It seemed as though he did not have a solution either. Zai Sheng whipped out his phone and made a call. "Don't worry. You're not going to go hungry now that you're going home. It's all right if we have no ingredients at home. I'll just call for delivery." Zai Hua hit herself on the head. "I almost forgot about that. Aren't you always in the army? Why do you know so much about this?" As a housewife, it was normal to know about such things. Apart from her, given the Zai family's situation, everyone else was no different from cavemen. It was exactly because of this that Zai Hua was shocked that Zai Sheng had thought of this. After making his order, Zai Sheng kept his phone. You don't need to know so much. You just have to know that your younger brother won't let the two of you starve now that you're coming home. Don't be naggy. Hurry and change your position. After saying that, Zai Sheng did not say anything more. Chapter 1883, Unsuitable. Apart from Zai Hua and her daughter, the only ones left in the car were Zai Yayawai and Miao Jing. It was not that Zai Hua did not know how to drive. With her around, did she really dare to let her elderly parents drive? Of course not. If Zai Hua did not drive, they might as well remain there and see if they should get a valet over. Seeing Zai Sheng use such methods against her for the first time, Zai Hua was amused, yet bitter at the same time. It was normal for a man to forget about his mother once he had a wife. If he could forget about even his mother, she was nothing in his eyes since she was only his elder sister. With no other choice after having been abandoned by Zai Sheng, who had forgotten about his sister due to his own lust, Zai Hua could only move from the passenger seat to the driver's seat. Jia looked around and climbed to the passenger seat. Then, upon witnessing Zai Sheng drag Jiao Nan into another car, Jia asked out of curiosity, "Mom, what's Auntie Chiao's relationship with my uncle now?" Thinking about it, Jia felt a little embarrassed. On the surface, Jiao Nan had nothing to do with the Zai family. How could she not feel embarrassed from finding an outsider when something happened to her? Who knows? It's a mystery. To Zai Hua, this was perhaps the only piece of news that comforted her slightly. She was on the verge of losing her marriage. While Zai Sheng did not seem like he was lovelorn, he was still single. The siblings' relationship statuses were not that far off from each other. Zai Yayawai eyed Miao Jing. Since Hua could tell Jia such a thing, it seemed like Hua had not only made a decision regarding Wei Dai, but she had also become more open-minded. Hua should not be pretending to be strong, right? Zai Yayawai lifted his chin to express that his daughter had always been this strong. There was no need for any pretense. If she had not met Wei Dai, Zai Hua's performance would have been this brilliant all along. One was marked by the company one kept. Now that she had left Wei Dai, Zai Hua would return to being that daughter who was even more outstanding than a son. When Zai Hua returned to the Zai family's house with the other three members of her family, Zai Sheng coincidentally alighted from the car too. Actually, Jiao Nan had already regretted her actions the moment she complained to Zai Sheng about overloading the car at the police station. The moment she said that, it sounded as though she intended to leave with the Zai family. She had not meant that at all. Initially, she had simply thought that it would be better for the Zai family to remain together at such a time. "Brother Zai, it's inappropriate for me to go to your house. It's so late at night, and I can't return home either. If you really feel sorry, you can just book a hotel room for me. I won't stop you from booking the best hotel in the area." It had been more than half a year since Jiao Nan had woken up from her dream. As such, Jiao Nan was a little afraid of entering that slightly unfamiliar quad in Pingcheng. Moreover, the Chiao family was in that quad too. Although one was on the south side, while the other was on the north, Jiao Nan had grown up in the quad. As such, there were a lot of neighbors who recognized her. If she got caught by her neighbors, the Chiao family would definitely learn of her presence in Pingcheng. Up until now, Jiao Nan had not gotten herself ready to meet the Chiao family. When she had left the last time, Jiao Nan seemed to have made up her mind never to meet the Chiao family ever again. She was all too clear that her mom would never change. Elderly people would never change their mindsets. In fact, this elderly person would probably only get more stubborn with age. Besides, Ding Ji had someone by her side who constantly encouraged her, Jiao Zijin. Although they could not be relatives, she did not want them to hurt each other either. It was better that they severed all ties so that she would not get hurt anymore. But once the Chiao family learned of Chiao Nan's whereabouts, it went without question that Ding Ji and Chiao Zijin would act like leeches and would never let her go. Chiao Nan felt bad for describing her relatives in this manner, but it was the truth. No matter what the reason was, Chiao Nan had no desire to step into the Zai family's house in the Pingcheng Quad. Zai Sheng did not agree. If he were to continue being wishy-washy any longer, it would not only be his father who could not stand it. Zai Sheng himself would be unable to tolerate it either. He could sense that Chiao Nan had always been trying to avoid him and that Chiao Nan felt that it was impossible between the two of them. If he were to give in to Chiao Nan despite knowing that Chiao Nan had such thoughts, Zai Sheng knew that he would really remain a bachelor for the rest of his life. If he wanted to get married and have a wife and children, the first thing he had to do was to pull Chiao Nan out of her shell. It's not like we don't have any space in our house. We have more than enough rooms. Why do you have to stay in a hotel? You understand Zihua's situation, but we don't. Don't think that Zihua's decided to leave Weida for sure. I'm sure she's upset in her heart. Today, she only managed to have a small fight with Weida. What if she can't go to sleep and wakes up at night to deal with Weida again? I can't even be sure of how bad that will be. I think you get along quite well with Zihua. She'll listen to whatever you say. Just treat it as though you're helping me take care of Zihua by staying at my house. Yes, Zihua was still a little useful at such a time. But Zai Sheng only said that to coax Chiao Nan. Zai Sheng did not mean what he had just said. After all, he had grown up with Zihua. He was all too clear about Zihua's temper. If Zihua really wanted to kill Weida, there was no way Weida would be lying in the hospital with minor injuries. Although Zihua no longer had a gun after retiring from the military, there were still knives and scissors at home. If she had used any of these things to stab Weida a few times and gouge holes out of him, Weida would probably be dead by now. Now that Zihua had agreed to get a divorce, she would probably never turn back no matter what happened. Since she would never change her decision, it was even less likely that she would be unable to snap out of it. But it was only natural that she would be upset for a while. Thankfully, Zihua still had Jia around. Even if it was for the sake of her daughter, Zihua would not do anything foolish. A mother was in a completely different position from her daughter. Zihua was no longer that willful young lady from the past. She was Wei Jiajia's mother. Of course, Zai Sheng naturally did not tell Chiao Nan anything about Zihua's change in mindset and behavior due to her change in status. If he were to do so, there would be no reason for Chiao Nan to stay. Are you unwilling to spend the night at our house because of the Chiao family? Yes. Chiao Nan nodded. That's one of the reasons, and the other is that it's inappropriate for me to stay at your house. Chapter 1884, Overly Aggressive. How is it inappropriate? There was a flash in Zai Sheng's eyes. Chiao Nan reminded herself to keep a distance from Zai Sheng at all times. Did this mean that Chiao Nan's heart would fall if she did not maintain her distance? Chiao Nan definitely had feelings for him. That was why she was behaving so strangely. Chiao Nan moved her mouth awkwardly. She could not possibly tell Zai Sheng that it was because they were both single. If she were to enter the Zai family's house, others might misunderstand their relationship. Chiao Nan felt that she was thinking too highly of herself if she were to say that out loud. In the eyes of everyone else, they would probably guess that Chiao Nan had something to discuss with Zai Sheng even if she were to spend the night at the Zai family's house. There was no way they would link the two of them together. Since Chiao Nan remained silent, Zai Sheng said, "Since you can't give me a reason, I'll make the decision for you. Let's go to my house. It's all thanks to you that Zihua finally came to her senses and that Jia is safe and sound. Our family owes you a huge favor." Afterward, Zai Sheng did not even give Chiao Nan a chance to refuse. In the blink of an eye, they had already arrived in front of the Zai family's courtyard. That was how Chiao Nan, who was pulling a long face, was dragged off the car by Zai Sheng, bitterly following Zai Sheng into the house. How did Uncle and Auntie Chia return faster than us? Jia asked incredulously as she alighted from the car. Zai Hua smirked. Your Auntie Chiao is too good at running, and your uncle is afraid that she might run away. That young brat! He knew how to abuse his power. She had thought that Zai Sheng had always been indifferent to women outside the Zai family. Looking more closely at Qiao Nan, Zai Hua was still unable to understand how Qiao Nan was special. How had she been able to cause such a drastic change in Zai Sheng? No matter how much she looked at Qiao Nan, she could not find any extraordinarily attractive or unique traits in Qiao Nan that could have changed Zai Sheng. She was just an average woman, except that she was a little older. Jia, let's go. We have many rooms here. Pick any that you like. Miaojing did not care about Zai Sheng. As long as Zai Sheng had a plan and expressed his feelings for Qiao Nan, Miaojing could not ask for more. The youngsters would settle their own problems. If he wanted to marry a wife, he would have to be more hardworking. No one else would be able to win Qiao Nan over on his behalf. Miaojing wanted to bring her granddaughter, Jia, away in case her granddaughter interrupted her son chasing after Qiao Nan due to her young age and curiosity. That would be terrible. Therefore, Miaojing practically bundled her granddaughter up and hurried her to see the rooms. Grandma! My clothes are still in the other house. Jia blushed. Everything had happened too suddenly today, and this was her first time staying over at her grandma's house. As such, there were no clothes for her or Zai Hua to change into after taking a shower. This worried Jia, who had the habit of showering every day. Along the way, Jia had already tried her best not to think about that family. But there were some situations that forced her to think about that family. As a child who had just entered junior high school, what Jia had seen today was devastating. Thankfully, the atmosphere over at the Zai family was good, and Qiao Nan had comforted her in time. Otherwise, Jia was not even sure whether she would have been able to get through the day. When she had first found out that her grandmother's family was no longer around and that she had been left alone, Jia felt as though her whole universe had collapsed. Her father had betrayed her family, her grandmother's family had disappeared, and her mother was still in the police station. Jia was extremely grateful toward Qiao Nan for being an elder whom she could rely on when she had been at a loss. Miaojing scratched her head. You've grown so much, but I haven't had the chance to buy you any clothes yet. How about we go out to buy some clothes after we have our dinner? The Zai family did not lack financially, but they did lack opportunities to spend their money. But it's already so late. Jia blushed. It was a new experience shopping late at night for her own clothes. The Zai family had inculcated in their children not to leave the house late at night if they had nothing on. Instead, they should stay at home and spend time with their family. Even after Zai Hua had gotten married, that was what she had taught her daughter. As such, Jia rarely had the chance to go out after dinner. That's all right. As long as Jia was willing to do so, the time did not matter. Miaojing eyed Qiao Nan. Your Auntie Qiao brought you over to Pingcheng and left in a hurry too. I guess she won't have any clothes with her either. Your Auntie Qiao will have to get some clothes too. No matter how late it was, Miaojing was more than happy to buy something for her daughter-in-law. Whether it was her granddaughter or her daughter-in-law, these were the two people whom Miaojing had been looking forward to the most in recent years. There was nothing better than being able to buy clothes for the people she had waited an eternity for. Sitting down with the Zai family for a meal was enough to make Qiao Nan feel uneasy, but they had even arranged for her to go shopping after dinner. Qiao Nan was extremely reluctant. She could not possibly be such a freeloader. She had already gotten a free meal and free accommodation. She could not expect to get free clothing too. Zai Sheng half pushed and half carried Qiao Nan into the car. Just go with them. It's just as well that you can help Jia pick out some clothes. It's the first time Mom's buying clothes for Jia. I don't really trust Zai Hua's taste. Jia is still a child and will only pick the ones that she likes instead of the right ones. It'll be good for you to be by their sides. Xiao Nan flushed red with anger and stared at Zai Sheng. She very much wanted to tell Zai Sheng that he had crossed the line. Earlier, Zai Sheng had practically carried her into the car. Had that not been taking advantage of her? But Xiao Nan did not have the guts to say those words out loud. As such, she could only suppress her anger and berate Zai Sheng through her gaze. Zai Sheng smiled as he met Xiao Nan's gaze. There was not a hint of guilt in his gaze. In fact, he looked rather pleased with himself. Zai Sheng had only done so because he knew that Xiao Nan would never speak up to scold him. He was not someone who lived in ancient times anyway. There was no need for unnecessary red tape. Hugging his wife was what mattered most. Zai Sheng was extremely pleased with that hug. His wife looked rather skinny but was so soft in his arms. She felt perfect. Was this what hugging a woman was like? Although Zai Sheng had been married once, he had never truly been a bridegroom before. This was Zai Sheng's first time hugging a woman. Hua hua, start the car. Seeing Zai Sheng's firm attitude in carrying Xiao Nan to the car, Miao Jing and Zai Hua were dumbfounded. Just that afternoon, they had been discussing how such a strong Zai Sheng appeared like a coward in front of Xiao Nan, taking no action at all. Chapter 1885, for 1. Who would have known that Zai Sheng would do such a shocking thing that very evening? He had directly skipped a few levels. They had not even held hands, and neither had he even confessed to her. Yet, he had already held her in his arms. Would the next step be sharing a room or even a bed? Although Miao Jing was shocked, she gave a stunning performance as a mother. While Xiao Nan had not returned from her trance, she quickly urged Zai Hua to start the engine. Once they started driving and entered the mall, Xiao Nan would have no say in whatever she bought. The money was in her pocket. Xiao Nan would have nothing to say if Miao Jing wanted to buy anything. Once she had already bought it, since Xiao Nan had no other clothes to change out into, Xiao Nan would have no choice but to change into the clothes that Miao Jing had bought. Now that her daughter-in-law had worn the clothes that she had bought, it would probably not be long before Xiao Nan would address her as mom. Miao Jing, who had been feeling down the entire day, suddenly brightened up. That son-in-law was indeed a bad person who had treated her daughter and granddaughter poorly. Thankfully, her daughter would soon have nothing to do with that son-in-law, and her daughter would finally be able to dig herself out of that pit. Her daughter would be able to rid herself of misfortune, while her son was getting his happiness very soon. It seemed that the Zai family was moving toward a bright future. Was there anything more gratifying than this? Through the rear-view mirror, Zai Hua could see that Miao Jing's mouth was almost crooked from smiling. She felt sour. After all, she was about to become a divorcee, and Jia was about to become a child without a father. Did her mom not care about her feelings or Jia's feelings at all? Mom! Jia, who was seated in the front passenger seat, lightly touched Zai Hua's hand and let out a brilliant smile. Mom, I think that this is quite good. Jia was naturally sad that her parents were going to split up and that she had a father like that. But Jia was grateful and knew to cherish what she had. Her paternal grandma's family had always treated her in this manner. Even if her parents did not get divorced, that would never change. But without her paternal grandma's family, she gained the love and affection of her maternal grandma's family. Compared to the past, she would only gain even more from this, except for her parents' divorce. Her maternal grandma's family worried a lot about her and her mom. Jia did not wish for them to worry about them. Thinking about how well her maternal grandma treated her, Jia understood just how much her maternal grandma's family must have wanted to meet her all these years. Unfortunately, due to her parents' relationship, she had met her maternal grandma's family for the first time this year. With such a comparison, Jia cherished her happiness even more. She wanted nothing more than to get along with her maternal grandma's family and live a peaceful life, unlike in the past. Since her daughter had already said that it was all right, there was nothing else Zihua could say. Zihua tidied up her thoughts and replied to her daughter. It's all good as long as you like it. It did not really matter to her. This marriage had exhausted Zihua completely. She was not going to try a second time. Moreover, she had Jia by her side. It really did not matter to her whether she got remarried as long as she had her daughter. At this time, Zihua finally understood why Zai Sheng had never wanted to get remarried after his divorce from Chu Chenxi, even though he did not have any children. Upon reaching the shopping mall, Miao Jing threw aside all her worries. To make up for all those years of longing, the moment she saw any clothes that fit Jia, Miao Jing would hand them over to Jia, asking her to try them out. Of course, Miao Jing did not neglect Qiaonan either. She was no less eager to pick out clothes for Qiaonan than she was for Jia. In an instant, Miao Jing became the happiest among the four of them while picking out clothes. Zihua understood the situation well. One was a granddaughter whom her mom had longed to see for over 10 years, while the other was a daughter-in-law whom her mom had waited for more than 20 years. With two VIPs around, this disobedient daughter was probably not on her mom's mind today. Since Zihua did not have any clothes to change into either, she had to rely on herself. If her mom was not going to pick out any clothes for her, she would have to do it herself. Zihua spent a long time looking at the racks absent-mindedly but had not been able to pick one out to try. Her mind was filled with Wei Dai, Wei Xiaomei, and Wei Wei. Thinking about how these three people shared the same surname, Zihua was in a terrible mood. She could not understand how there could be people like the Wei family in this world. How could anyone be so shameless? Sister Zihua, why don't you try this? Zihua suddenly felt a piece of clothing being shoved into her arms. Zihua lifted her eyes to see Qiaonan's calm face in front of her. No, there's no need. I'll take my time and pick something. You can just choose something for yourself. Qiaonan resisted the impulse to roll her eyes. Did she still need to choose anything for herself? If she did not make herself busy, she would be like Jia, who was spending all her time in the fitting room. Sister Zihua, go try it on. I picked this out. Jia has something similar. It's a mother and daughter outfit that this mall just launched. It's quite pretty. A mother and daughter matching outfit. That piqued Zihua's interest. Without a husband, Zihua now turned all her attention to Jia. That was why Zihua reacted in this manner the moment she heard that it was a matching outfit. Shall I go try it out? Go on. She was not the one who needed to enter the fitting room anyway. Even though she had only tried on 3 outfits, Qiaonan was already exhausted. The price of those 3 outfits made Qiaonan shiver. The cost of all her clothes added up was still less expensive than the total price of those 3 outfits that she had just tried on. It was extravagant. Even though she had only tried them on and had not bought them, Qiaonan, a poor peasant, could not handle it. Besides, one had to buy it once they tried it on. But Qiaonan could not afford such luxurious items and had no intention of splurging on such clothing. There was no need to spend a whole month's worth of living expenses on an outfit. Since Qiaonan had not been getting much income lately, the only thing she could do was to reduce her expenses. This level of consumption was definitely not something she could afford. All right. Zihua tried on the outfit and felt that it was pretty good. It resembled a suit in a cowboy style and was clean-cut. Jia gave off a refreshing air when she wore it, while Zihua seemed rather dashing. The mother and daughter pair looked amazing in the matching outfits. Many shoppers stopped in their tracks upon witnessing this scene, feeling that their eyes had been treated to a great sight. Chapter 1886, Your mother-in-law is great. Even a few shoppers' daughters inquired if they could try on the same outfit. Jia, do you like it? Miao Jing was satisfied too. She had mainly picked out skirts, dresses, and other clothes with floral patterns for Jia. Miaojing had never even considered these single-colored and plain-looking clothes. After all, Jiajia was still young. It was only when Jiajia tried on the outfit did Miaojing proudly declare that Jiajia was indeed the Zai family's child. Such a style did indeed suit Jiajia better because she was part of the Zai family. I like it. Jiajia nodded. It was Jiajia's first time wearing such an outfit too. She had never imagined the result to be that good. Actually, Jiajia had already been extremely pleased when she had seen herself in the mirror in the fitting room. Mom, Auntie Qiao has such good taste. It feels like we can take some artistic photos without needing to borrow other people's clothes. Jiajia, you want to take photos? All right, but it's too late today. I'll bring you to take some photos tomorrow with your mom. Hua Hua had already retired from the military long ago and no longer had to return to the camp every day. Since she was already going to get a divorce, there was no need for Hua Hua to have any contact with the Wei family before they went to the Civil Affairs Bureau to change her marriage certificate into a divorce certificate. Since she was free, she might as well spend some time with Jiajia and help her adjust to her new surroundings before school started. They had to ensure that Jiajia would not be affected by this incident and lose the ability to concentrate in school. Nan, why don't you try your clothes out? Because her daughter and granddaughter had already found the outfits that they were most satisfied with, Miaojing turned her attention to Jiao Nan. Go on in and try them on. There are some clothes that you'll only know how they look once you try them on. You've picked out such nice pieces for Jiajia and Hua Hua. You should choose something for yourself too. That's right. This beautiful lady has a good eye. Thankfully, she's only a customer. Otherwise, I'll have to worry about losing my job to her. I wouldn't even need to be here to recommend customers any clothes. The shopping guide laughed while trying to flatter her. She had no choice. The moment these four women arrived, she had not been able to say a thing before the four of them had gone their way and had started picking out their clothes. The shopping guide could tell that these four ladies had the financial ability to purchase these clothes. The commission from the mother and daughter outfits alone would be more than 100 yuan. If each of the four of them were to purchase an outfit, perhaps even a few, she would certainly meet her daily sales quota. Everyone likes such easygoing clients. That won't be necessary. Why don't we pick something out for Jiajia instead? Qiaonan did not know what the shopping guide was thinking, and neither was she prepared to cater to the shopping guide's wants. Jiajia, do you have any clothes that you want? You can just tell me. I'll pick something similar for you. There's no need for that. These are more than enough. Zihua refused. Her mom had chosen quite a few pieces of clothes for Jiajia. Given her mom's character, her mom would not only purchase all of them but would even purchase 3 to 4 of each piece of clothing. Jiajia is still a growing child. She might grow out of these clothes next year. There's no need to waste any more money. That's right. This was Jiajia's first time buying so many new clothes at once. She had never experienced this in her life. Jiajia knew that she had already tried on quite a few pieces and they would have to pay for them. She was already in a panic because of that. If they picked out any more, Jiajia herself would be too embarrassed to try them on. The Wei family had to thank Zihua for boosting their family's business, increasing their income tremendously. Otherwise, Zihua would never have had the funds to purchase 2 properties and even shoulder the burden of paying for the Wei family's expenses on Weida's behalf. The family's expenses were not an insignificant sum. Besides, the Wei family had 2 children. One was Jiajia, and the other was Wei Wei. Jiajia had to attend all sorts of interest classes, and Weida spared no effort in cultivating Wei Wei too. The problem was that the money spent on Wei Wei ultimately came from Zihua's pockets. The family truly spent a huge sum on developing the 2 children in the family. Because of this, Zihua had never had spare cash to allow Jiajia to spend as she liked. In retrospect, Zihua wanted to slap herself. She had been the one to earn the money. Was she incapable? No. Did she have money? Yes. With her capabilities and money, she could have allowed her daughter to buy whatever she liked since she was a child without ever having to worry about how her daughter would no longer be able to wear the same clothes the next year. She had let her own child suffer and let Jia make a habit of being frugal. On the other hand, she had used the money she had saved to raise her husband's son. Was there another woman more foolish than her? But today, Zihua felt that she still needed to control her spending a little since she was spending her mom's money, after all. But she would never act in this manner ever again. As long as Jia liked it and would not waste it, she would never stop Jia from buying whatever she wanted. She would make up for whatever Jia had lost in the past 10 years little by little. All right, these will do then. I'll go get the bill. Looking at the pile of clothes, Miao Jing was elated. Thankfully, they had driven to the mall. Otherwise, it would probably be a struggle for the 4 women to carry all those clothes home. Next time, we should call Zai Shang along with us when we go shopping. We should get the men to do things like carrying our shopping bags. You're asking Zai Shang to come shopping with us? Don't be ridiculous, Mom. Was Zai Shang the kind of person who would be persuaded by their mom? Zihua's eyes fell on Qiao Nan. But if Qiao Nan was the one to call Zai Shang, the results might just be different. Wait a minute. Qiao Nan felt a pang of pain in her liver as she pulled on Miao Jing's arm. Auntie Miao, I think we shouldn't take these. She had not tried on as many outfits as Jia. Jia had tried on 7 or 8 outfits, while she had only tried on 3 outfits. The problem was that Jia had only bought 4 outfits, while Auntie Miao had simply taken all 3 outfits that she had tried on into her hands. That could only mean that she intended to purchase all 3 of them. That would not do. Auntie Miao, out of these 3 outfits, I only like this one. I'll pay for it on my own. Qiao Nan wanted to take that piece of clothing over from the clothing guide to pay for it herself. Don't. Miao Jing reached out to push Qiao Nan's hand away. You did our family a great favor today. These 3 outfits are nothing. In my heart, all these clothes can never be compared to Hua Hua and Jia. We'll pay for them together. If you keep this up, I'm going to get angry. Miao Jing's attitude was firmer than Qiao Nan's. If Nan Nan had not been willing to try on only 3 pieces of clothing, she would have bought Nan Nan 4 pieces of clothing as well, just like Jia. Beauty, you have such great fortune. This is your future mother-in-law, right? Chapter 1887, How pitiful. At her age, she must have good fortune to have been able to find such a good mother-in-law. Before she had gotten married to her husband, her in-laws had never treated her so well. They had never been so decisive in buying clothes for her. This pile of clothes cost at least 10,000 yuan. Qiao Nan blushed. No, no. You're mistaken. She had clearly addressed her as auntie. Future. I know. The shopping guide blinked. This beautiful lady was slightly older, but calling her a beauty was right. She was indeed quite attractive. She was married and had some experience. The way this auntie looked at that beautiful lady was definitely that of a mother-in-law looking at her daughter-in-law. If this beautiful lady was not her daughter-in-law, this auntie would never spend so much money on her. Who would buy 3 sets of clothes for an outsider just like that? Unlike the awkward Qiao Nan, Miao Miao was over the moon. Haha, you're good with your words. Let's go pay for all these. Where's the cashier? Miao Jing did not offer an explanation, but she did not deny it either. Had she not just silently acknowledged the shopping guide's words then? No, Qiao Nan had already made the painful decision to pay for those 3 outfits on her own so that there would be no misunderstandings. But before Qiao Nan could say anything, Zihua pulled Qiao Nan to the lingerie department. I think your taste is pretty good. You've never been a mom, but your judgment is better than me as a mom. Jia is growing now. Apart from those clothes, she needs some underwear too. Come and help me pick some out. Talking about growing, Jia blushed in embarrassment. Her face was just as red as Xiao Nan's. However, Jia still quietly walked over to Xiao Nan's side and tugged on Xiao Nan's clothes, asking Xiao Nan to help her out. Xiao Nan wanted very much to hit her throbbing head. Why did she feel as though she had just walked into the trap of these three Zai women? But because Jia was tugging on her, Xiao Nan had no choice but to do some honest work and help Jia pick some clothes out. For the time being, Jia should wear training bras like this first. Next year or the year after, you can get her proper bras. It's better to get those without underwire now that she's just starting off. When she's a little older and wants to dress up, you can buy those with underwire. Actually, it's all right for Jia to get ones made purely of cotton. Xiao Nan did have experience raising a daughter, after all, even if it was just in her dream. Xiao Nan had not forgotten about how to raise a daughter just because she had woken up from her dream. As such, Xiao Nan had been able to go on about how to choose underwear for Jia at a rapid speed. Before Zihua could respond, Xiao Nan already had a pile of underwear in her hand. Initially, Zihua had asked Xiao Nan to help Jia pick out some underwear as a way of preventing Xiao Nan from making trouble and trying to pay for her clothes. Now that Xiao Nan mentioned how to pick underwear out for her daughter, Zihua perked up her ears and paid attention to Xiao Nan's words, trying to keep them in mind. Looking at the underwear that Xiao Nan handed over, Zihua was confused for a moment and asked her daughter, "Is that all?" Jia's face was still flushed and she nodded shyly. "I guess so." That was what the shopping guide had told her in the past when she had bought them in the past, and that was how she wore them too. "Do you like these designs?" There were some patterns on the underwear, and Zihua asked for Jia's opinion on them. Jia replied in a small voice. "Auntie Qiao has quite good taste." She was rather pleased with those designs, and there was not one that she disliked. Her mom was right. Auntie Qiao might not have been a mom before, but she was a much better mom than her own mom was. Her mom had never picked such things out for her in the past. She had always handed her the money and asked her to purchase them for herself. Seeing her daughter satisfied, Zihua took the pile of items and headed to the cashier without a second of hesitation. "You heard everything Auntie Qiao said, right? It might take another year or two. I'll remember a little, and you can remember a little too. I think she shouldn't be wrong, right?" Even though she was a woman too, Zihua knew nothing about bras having underwire or not, or how to differentiate between the different types of underwear. As such, she was not in the position to critique Xiao Nan's teachings and could only instruct her daughter to remember whatever Xiao Nan had said. Okay. Jia was a young lady, after all, and liked dressing up. So, she tried her best to keep in mind Xiao Nan's little tips. As the mother and daughter were chatting, Xiao Nan handed a few more pieces of underwear over. "These are yours. Pay for them together." As for the one in her hand, Xiao Nan had picked it out for herself. It did not make sense to purchase a whole set of clothing without purchasing some underwear. The way she saw it, she would much rather not change her outerwear than not change her underwear. "Me too." Zihua had no special feelings upon seeing the underwear that Xiao Nan had selected for her. "But do you know my size?" Even she had not been able to tell the shopping guide her size when she had purchased underwear for the first time. She had only found out after going into the fitting room and trying some on. Xiao Nan's lips twitched. She had purchased Zihua's underwear for over 20 years in her dream. "My judgment is pretty good. I can roughly gauge your size just by looking. Since we're still here, you can go try it on if you're afraid." Xiao Nan's gaze fell on Zihua. Even though Zihua had already retired from the military, she had maintained her figure well. She probably would not have made an error. Zihua bowed her head. Ever since she had gotten married, she had more than a decade's worth of experience purchasing underwear for herself. She definitely knew her own size. When she flipped the label of the underwear, it was indeed her size. "There's no need for that. Your eyes are sharp indeed. Because Qiaonan had already selected it for her, Zihua suddenly realized that it was not only her daughter who needed them but she needed them too. Thus, she paid for them unhesitatingly. As she was making her payment, Zihua took the piece in Qiaonan's hand over. You've helped Jiajia and I pick things out for a long time. Just take this as my way of thanking you. Ever since returning from Qingshui town, Zihua had gotten a better understanding of Qiaonan's life. Knowing that Qiaonan had once lived with such a family, Zihua knew that Qiaonan had had it tough all these years and would not have much money on hand. If Qiaonan had more money, would Qiao Zijin have been able to buy that house? Zihua felt that she was rather pitiful for having been lied to for over 10 years. But she thought about how Qiaonan had been bullied ever since she was born. Worse still, the bullies had been her closest kin. Chapter 1888, Feudalism. One was her birth mother and the other was her birth sister. She also had a foolish birth father. Hers was more than 10 years, but Qiaonan's was decades. When comparing both of their experiences, Zihua immediately felt balanced in her heart. She wasn't that miserable, after all. Zihua unscrupulously found a feeling of balance from Qiaonan, thus she decided to buy her a set of underwear. Zihua felt that she had taken great advantage of Qiaonan and Qiaonan had suffered a great loss. If she couldn't bear to part with her money for this set of underwear, then she was really a failure in life. The underwear in her hands was snatched away. Qiaonan didn't expect to snatch it back. The women of the Zai family were experts in this aspect. She was no match for them at all. In the end, when the 4 women returned fully loaded, Qiaonan and Jiajia had gained the most. Jiajia was first while Qiaonan was second. Upon thinking of the bags in the trunk and the ones that belonged to her, Qiaonan felt strange. If she didn't remember wrongly, before she married Zai Sheng in her dreams, Auntie Miao seemed to have gone shopping with her like that as well. But back then, she was Auntie Miao's future daughter-in-law. Now, she was nothing to the Zai family. Could it be that just because she had persuaded Sister Zihua and brought Jiajia over from Qingshui town, the Zai family had such a high level of gratitude toward her that they were willing to buy a lot of things for her as if she was their daughter-in-law? Once the 4 women reached home and before Qiaonan could get out of the car, Zai Sheng had already automatically opened the trunk, took all the items out, and carried them into the house. Zai Sheng silently sized them up and vaguely knew which ones belonged to Qiaonan. Of course, Miao Jing had helped Zai Sheng in cheating. When Miao Jing placed Qiaonan's bags in the trunk, she deliberately put them together in one pile and in the same corner. Qiaonan was still an outsider. How would she know what the Zai family was thinking? There were a few big shots in the quad in Pingcheng. Besides the Zai family, there was the Zhu family. Zhu Chenqi lost his wife when he was young. He lost his son when he was middle-aged, and within a few years, his father had also left. Zhu Chenqi didn't remarry, and the Zhu family gave off the dying vibe. On the contrary, even if the Zai family wasn't especially blessed, they were a complete family. Zihua was married and had a daughter. Zai Sheng wasn't young anymore. As long as he was willing to get married, he could add another child to the family in a matter of minutes. The Zai family compound, which had been quiet for many years, suddenly became lively. Quite a number of people noticed this, regardless if it was the southern quad or the northern quad. The Zai family has returned to stay? I saw their car in and out several times today. The Zai family is so lively. It seems like it. The Zai family has returned. The Zai family was the biggest star in their quad. Look, the people in the car are getting out. 4 women? Since when did the Zai family have so many people? Who is the extra woman behind Zai Sheng? Does this mean that the Zai family is going to hold a wedding soon? No wonder they have returned with everyone complete. That was true as well. The Zai family's roots were in Qingshui town. Their relatives and friends were in Pingcheng. If Zai Sheng were to remarry and hold another wedding banquet, he would definitely have to return to Pingcheng. Don't you feel that the back view of that woman is quite familiar? Among the 4 people who got out of the car, one was the wife of the old chief, one was their daughter, and the youngest one was obviously Zihua's daughter. Who was that middle-aged woman then? Her back view was too familiar. Do you feel that she looks similar to the younger daughter of the Chiao family? That seemed to be the case. Now that you mention it, yes. She hasn't stayed in the quad for many years. Every time she returned, she would leave in a hurry. If you didn't remind me, I really couldn't remember. However, based on the situation in the Chiao family, their daughter shouldn't be so silly to have returned during this time. She has sacrificed so much for that family but isn't married yet at this age. If she returned now, wouldn't the Chiao family swallow her whole? Following the in-depth broadcast of the news, not only did the people from Pingcheng understand the Chiao family more, but the people from the quad as well. Everyone in the quad knew that the elder daughter from the Chiao family was successful, had high qualifications, and had married well. She could be considered a successful role model among the girls from the quad. However, nobody expected that the outstanding performance of the elder daughter from the Chiao family was based on Chiao Nan's sacrifice and suppression. The Chiao family was really something. Both of them were their daughters. Chiao Nan's grades were obviously much better than Chiao Zijin's when Chiao Nan was young, yet they let the one with the good grades drop out of school to provide for Chiao Zijin's studies. Many people said that based on Chiao Nan's results, Chiao Nan might have been a graduate from a prestigious university had she continued her studies, unlike Chiao Zijin, who was a graduate from an average university. Yes, because of Chiao Zijin's and Ding Jiyi's mischief and shamelessness, the people from the TV station were angered. They wanted to give them trouble? They wanted to see who would be creating trouble for whom in the end. As such, the people from the TV station did a thorough check on the Chiao family. Then, they realized that the people from the Chiao family were light-fingered. It was alright if they didn't do checks. Once they did, the affairs of the Chiao family could be played out as a long ethical drama. They had seen biased people before, but not such biased ones. It was obvious that the younger one had better grades. The Chiao family wasn't lacking the money to provide for another child's studies. Furthermore, the country implemented a 9-year compulsory education. However, the Chiao family didn't even let Chiao Nan graduate from junior high school. At the age of 16, she was forced to drop out of school to work and earn tuition fees for Chiao Zijin. Such parents were really unheard of. As soon as the news was broadcasted, a group of parents started scolding them. They were worried that their own child didn't like to study and couldn't achieve good grades. If their child didn't want to study, they would use all sorts of ways to make him or her attend school. However, there were parents who had a child that they didn't have to worry much about, but they didn't cherish her. They didn't even give her the opportunity to study. If they really couldn't afford it, why did they give birth to 2? Was the existence of the second child purely to serve the firstborn for life? What kind of strange parents were they? They had failed to appreciate what happiness really meant. The more the TV station exposed, the worse the reputation of the Chiao family in Pingcheng was. Not only was the Chiao family's reputation in the quad tarnished, but their interpersonal relationships were also damaged as well. Many people in the quad felt ashamed to have the Chiao family as their neighbor. It was already the 21st century. Why were there such feudalistic and biased people? Chapter 1889, The bed was broken. Nobody was willing to admit they were neighbors with such people. Everyone just treated it as if the Chiao family didn't live in the quad or near them. The neighbors in the quad used to say that Chiao Zijin was much more outstanding than Chiao Nan. Chiao Nan was in such a sorry state for not being married even though she was in her 40s and completely didn't look like she was born to the same mother as Chiao Zijin, and that Chiao Nan paled in comparison to Chiao Zijin. But now, the tides were completely reversed, and everyone pitied Chiao Nan. No matter how outstanding someone was, if she lacked the opportunity, how could she turn out to be outstanding? Xiao Nan was so smart and good in her studies. If she wanted to be outstanding, she had to have the opportunity to continue her studies. The Qiao family had deprived Xiao Nan of even this small opportunity. She could only work, and even the money she earned from working was taken away by the Qiao family. Under such circumstances, how was it possible for Xiao Nan to turn out to be outstanding? Even if Xiao Nan wanted to go to a night school, she needed money. Upon thinking of the news that was exposed after Xiao Nan left the quad and how she had led such a miserable life for close to 10 years, many people in the quad, who were her old neighbors, shed tears of sympathy for Xiao Nan. They really didn't expect someone close to them to be leading such a life. She was too pitiful. Xiao Nan's image might have gradually faded out from people's sight, but her name was still a household name in Pingcheng. However, upon seeing the 4 women who got off from the Zai family's car today, the neighbors in the quad suddenly felt that Xiao Nan's image became vivid. Xiao Nan was no longer just a name but a well and alive person. Is she really the younger daughter of the Qiao family? It couldn't be, right? Those who knew Xiao Nan were her seniors who were no longer young. Not only were they now grandparents, but their grandsons and granddaughters would graduate from university in a few years. It was inevitable for their eyesight to be poor once they were old. However, a few people were skeptical that they were wrong. However, they felt that that woman was the younger daughter of the Qiao family. But how could the Qiao family's Xiao Nan alight from the chief's family car? Didn't someone say that Zai Sheng was going to remarry and that the woman sitting in the Zai family's car was the Zai family's daughter-in-law? One had to know that Zai Sheng was already the chief now. If she married Zai Sheng, she would become the chief's wife. The younger daughter from the Qiao family, whom everyone in the city was sympathizing on recently, suddenly alighted from the chief's car and seemed to be marrying into the chief's family to become the chief's wife. These old neighbors instantly felt that their lives were more spectacular than TV dramas. If their eyesight were working fine and if the younger daughter from the Qiao family was marrying Zai Sheng to become the chief's wife, why would she need their sympathy? If Xiao Nan required sympathy, then ordinary citizens like them certainly required more sympathy. Are you mistaken? People are similar. It's not strange if we're mistaken. Only the back view looks familiar. We must have been mistaken. The old neighbors smiled awkwardly. The woman who first pointed out that the woman's back view was similar to Xiao Nan's didn't know what to say at this moment. Oh, it's running late. Let's sleep. Old people like us can't stay up late. My eyes are tired. The old neighbors laughed, supported their waists, and hurried home. It was the middle of the night. If not for the Zai family returning, they would have long gone to bed. One had to know that the early spring was still quite cold. It was precisely because it was the middle of the night that the woman who looked like the younger daughter from the Qiao family really gave them a scare. It was safer to sleep earlier so that their thoughts wouldn't wander. Xiao Nan didn't know that a number of people had already seen and even suspected that she had returned to Pingcheng as the Zai family was too eye-catching. To Xiao Nan, living in the quad again was both a beautiful and contradicting thing. As a guest, Xiao Nan could naturally sleep alone in a separate room. It was just that when Xiao Nan knew where she was going to sleep, she had the urge to turn around and run out of the Zai family. The room she was sleeping in was exceptionally big and good. It was precisely because this room was so good that in her dream, after she married Zai Sheng and gave birth to the triplets, she had arranged for De Bao and Er Bao to stay in this room. Not too long later after the triplets had grown up, this room became their playroom. Xiao Nan could still clearly remember at this moment that when the triplets were young, there were 3 beds in the room. She could even remember how these 3 beds were arranged in the room. It was a pity that the 3 small beds in her dream became a big bed in the middle. One could imagine how uncomfortable Xiao Nan felt with regard to such a change. Nan, take a look. Are you still missing anything? There's a 24-hour convenience store around. If you're really missing something, you can get Zai Sheng to drive you there to buy what you need. It's very convenient. When Miao Jing entered the room, she saw Xiao Nan sitting next to the study desk in a daze, staring at the big bed that she was going to sleep in. Is anything wrong with this bed? Is it broken? After all, they had not lived in this house for over 10 years. Miao Jing wasn't certain if the furniture at home were still all good. Upon seeing Xiao Nan's look, Miao Jing felt guilty. She thought that there was something wrong with the bed as no one had slept on it for over 10 years, causing Xiao Nan unable to sleep. Why don't we do this? Since this bed is broken, I'll change another one for you. I'll let Zai Sheng sleep in the living room today, and you'll sleep in Zai Sheng's room. Is this all right? Oh, this was a good idea. Xiao Nan should be sleeping in Zai Sheng's room. Why was she sleeping in the guest room, even though it was one of the better rooms in the house apart from the master bedroom? Xiao Nan recovered herself and shook her head. Auntie Miao, you're mistaken. This bed is pretty good. Nothing is broken. Too many things have happened today. I might be suffering from a little motion sickness and my head feels heavy. Don't be mistaken. Look, this bed is pretty good. Sleep in Zai Sheng's room? Let her off. She was feeling so uncomfortable that she wanted to cry. Her mind was filled with the triplets' faces. If she lived in Zai Sheng's room, she really didn't have to continue living. In order not to live in Zai Sheng's room and to prove that what she said was true, Xiao Nan immediately sat on the bed and even jumped a few times deliberately so that she could convince Miao Jing. It was a pity that the right time and people didn't seem to be on Xiao Nan's side. As Xiao Nan was sitting and jumping, the bed that looked well suddenly let out creaking noises. The moment Xiao Nan felt that the area under her buttocks was unstable and seemed to be moving, Xiao Nan hurriedly jumped up and stood on the ground. Chapter 1890, A Matter of Mind. There were originally 4 legs to stabilize the bed. After one of them was warped, the other 3 followed suit and became warped too. It took no more than 1 to 2 seconds for the bed to shorten for almost half because of this. Afterward, the already warped legs could not support the bed for much longer and the whole bed crashed down onto the floor into a mess. That crash turned Xiao Nan's face red. She had all reasons to believe that the bed had suddenly turned into this state because she had jumped on it a few times after sitting on it. That meant that she had broken a bed because of her weight. Xiao Nan felt like digging a hole for herself. How could she face anyone like this? Xiao Nan was blushing out of embarrassment, while Miao Jing's face was red due to holding her laughter in. Miao Jing's breath was unsteady and her voice was intermittent. However, she did not dare to show it too obviously for fear of provoking Xiao Nan. Nan, don't bother about it. The bed spoiling has nothing to do with you. No one has stayed in this house for over 10 years. I'm sure you saw that the bed was only 1.5 meters. More than 10 years ago, a bed of this size was considered a big one, unlike how we have 1.8 or even 2-meter beds now. It's because the bed was left alone for such a long time that it spoiled. It has nothing to do with you. We don't really have anywhere to buy a bed at this time. We have many rooms in this house, but the problem is that we don't have many beds. I'll tell you what, you'll sleep in Zai Sheng's room and Zai Sheng will sleep in the living room. Zai Hua had her own room in this house, so it was only natural for her to sleep in her own room. Jia had expressed her desire to sleep with someone tonight. Besides, the Zai family did have many rooms, but they did not have enough beds. As such, Jia slept with Zai Hua tonight. There was another bed that was Zai Yaoi's and Miao Jing's. No matter how they counted, Xiao Nan had no choice but to sleep in Zai Sheng's room for the night. It was logical and rational, and she could not possibly refuse. Miao Jing knew that Xiao Nan felt a little embarrassed and knew that such an arrangement seemed a little ambiguous. But that was exactly what she was trying to create. She hoped that Xiao Nan's relationship with her son would be confirmed as soon as possible. She could not be more pleased with such an arrangement. To prevent Xiao Nan from coming up with other solutions, Miao Jing quickly called out to her son. Zai Sheng, hurry and let Jiao Nan have your room. The bed in the guest room is spoiled and no one can sleep in it. Since you're the host, you'll have to take it in stride. Sleep in the living room. It's okay, Auntie Chiao. Chiao Nan wanted very much to cover Miao Jing's mouth but dared not do so. Actually, there's a good way to solve this. This bed may be broken, but it's just the legs that don't work well. The base of the bed is still perfectly fine. I'll just take it as though I'm sleeping on the floor. There's the bed frame, a mattress, and a quilt. That's enough for me to go to sleep. Anyway, she did not want to sleep in Zai Sheng's room. Auntie Miao, you know better than me that Brother Zai's leg was injured and he only managed to recover slightly after recuperating in Qingshui town for a while. You have to let Brother Zai rest well at night. It's not right for Brother Zai to sleep on the sofa. The sofa is short and small. It'll be too hard on Brother Zai. If nothing else worked, she could sleep on the sofa instead. She was not very tall and was quite petite. Sleeping on the sofa was still all right for her. But letting Zai Sheng, who was 1.9 meter tall, sleep on the sofa was really wronging him. Miao Jing knew that her son would be uncomfortable sleeping on the sofa, but it was Zai Sheng who had not managed to successfully win Chiao Nan over yet. If he did not make some sacrifices, how would he get his wife? It was worth tolerating a moment's grievance. Besides, she did actually have another solution, but would Chiao Nan agree to it? Miao Jing was afraid that she would scare Chiao Nan away with this plan. Because Zai Sheng had gone to Qingshui town to recuperate, there was a room in the Ping Cheng house for Zai Sheng when he needed to visit the doctor. The Zai family's courtyard had many rooms and beds, but only Zai Sheng's was regularly cleaned and refreshed. As such, Zai Sheng's bed was a 2-meter-long bed. It would fit both Chiao Nan and Zai Sheng just fine. If Zai Sheng and Chiao Nan had children, their children could sleep with their parents. That 2-meter-long bed was more than enough space for a family of 3. Unfortunately, Chiao Nan was not even Zai Sheng's partner at this point in time. As such, they could not share the same bed. If she really proposed such an idea, it would be no different from chasing Chiao Nan out. It's fine. Your brother Zai has thick skin. Sleeping on the couch for a night won't be much of a problem. Tomorrow morning, I'll go get a new bed. One night won't cause much of a problem. It's the new year. Just listen to me. As she said that, Miao Jing took Chiao Nan's hand and pulled Chiao Nan over to Zai Sheng's room. When she reached Zai Sheng's room and saw Zai Sheng leaving without his quilt, Chiao Nan blushed red all over as he brushed past her. Brother Zai, I'm so sorry that I have to trouble you tonight. Zai Sheng answered calmly, it's no trouble. Actually, it was all right if she caused even more trouble for him. All right. Hurry and get some rest. You may be energetic, but Nan Nan is sleepy. When Nan Nan had been in the guest room, she had already been on the verge of falling asleep. Looking at how her son's gaze never left Chiao Nan, Miao Jing was angry and amused at the same time. He cared so much about her, so when would Chiao Nan finally address her as mom? There was no point in looking at her in this manner. He had to do something more practical. No matter how much he looked at her, he was never going to get his wife just like that. Zai Sheng had given up his room for Chiao Nan. Entering Zai Sheng's room, sleeping on Zai Sheng's bed, and covering herself with Zai Sheng's quilt, Chiao Nan almost lost sleep because there seemed to be Zai Sheng's scent all around her, especially Zai Sheng's bed and quilt that she had shared with Zai Sheng for decades in her dream. Now, Chiao Nan was embarrassed to even cover herself with Zai Sheng's quilt. In the end, Chiao Nan had no other choice but to pinch herself on her thigh and pat her face lightly to remind herself not to let her imagination run wild. The Zai family had only made such an arrangement because she had helped Zai Hua and Jia out. There was no other meaning to it. She should not feel that the situation was ambiguous just because she had taken over Zai Sheng's room, was sleeping in Zai Sheng's bed, and had covered herself with Zai Sheng's quilt. As long as she calmed herself down, this would all seem quite normal. It was just a matter of mind. Indeed, onlookers were able to comprehend the situation the most clearly.